Welcome to STEM School. We're going to look at polynomial coefficients rule. So the first thing we need to look at is if the coefficient in a polynomial add up to 0, then x minus 1 is a factor. That's the important thing there. So when we say something is a factor, what that meant is if x minus 1 is a factor, that meant we can set it to 0. Therefore, x will be equal to 1. That means x equals to 1 is a root. So that's a root, and that will be a factor. And that's the polynomial coefficient rule. And that applies to any polynomial. That applies to any polynomial. Quadratic and cubic. I just want to talk about a few things about them. Quadratic is ax squared plus bx plus c. And cubic is ax cubed plus bx squared plus cx plus d. And obviously to solve it, we equate it to 0. So the most important thing we do with these two equations is always to divide through by a. X squared plus b over a x plus c over a equal to 0. Likewise for cubic, we divide through by a. X cubed plus b over a x squared plus c over a x plus d over a equal to 0. 0 over a is 0, 0 over a is 0. Now we need to remember that these are quadratic. This one is quadratic. It will have 2 roots and 2 factors. Cubic will have 3 roots and 3 factors. So we say let roots be x equals alpha and x equals beta. I'm going to do the same with the cubic. X equals alpha, x equals beta. Because it's 3 roots, will be x equals gamma. Now, these are roots. We can turn roots into factors. To turn the roots into factor, we just move alpha to the other side of the equation. That will become x minus alpha. Now that's a factor. X minus beta. These are the 2 factors. And if we're equating it to 0, we have to equate the factors to 0. Likewise, x minus alpha equals 0. X minus beta will be equal to 0. x minus gamma will be equal to 0. If we multiply them out, that factor times that factor should give us the quadratic back. X squared minus beta x, x times minus beta, minus alpha times x minus alpha x minus alpha times minus beta plus alpha beta equal to 0. X squared minus alpha plus beta x plus alpha beta equal to 0. So the most important thing here is that and that will be equal to b over a, and that will be equal to alpha beta. Now this one here is called sum. Sum means addition of roots, because you're adding all the roots together, the two roots, adding them together, they will give you b over a. In fact, minus b over a. If you multiply the roots, this is called product. Product means times of roots. If you multiply the product, you get c over a. So what we're saying is minus alpha plus beta equals b over a. Therefore, alpha plus beta equals minus b over a. It's a very important information, that one. So it's good to remember that for quadratic. So that's sum of roots. The sum of roots is always minus b over a in any quadratic. And the product of roots, let's just write it up. Alpha times beta will be equal to c over a. That is the product of rule. So that's the important thing I'd like to share with you. With a cubic, it's pretty similar actually. If I expand that one, I would get x cubed minus, very similar to that, it'd be alpha plus beta plus gamma. See? Except this is x squared, not x, because the coefficient power decreases by 1. Then plus, you got the alternate sign. It's like minus plus. And then you have alpha, beta. This time you're going to have alpha, gamma. So use 3 combination 2 plus beta, gamma. And that's for the x coefficient, minus positive, negative, positive, negative. Alpha, beta, gamma, all equal to 0. So what's interesting here? The sum of roots here will be equal to, again, b over a for cubic. And the product of roots is, again, the constant over a, d over a. So we're going to need those in solving problems. Minus alpha plus beta plus gamma, all in bracket, equal to b over a for cubic. And therefore, if I multiply both sides by minus, I'll get alpha plus beta plus gamma equal to minus b over a. That's an important equation for cubic. That's for cubic. And also the product, so this is sum of roots, just to remind us that that is sum of root, sum of roots, and this is product, not products, product of roots. Now the product of root is, this time is minus, so it's minus alpha beta gamma equals d over a, and therefore if you multiply both sides by the minus, you get alpha beta gamma equals minus d over a, and that is the product of roots. And that's are the important things we're going to be using here to solve our problems. We could also consider the product and sum of roots. So here will be the product and sum, and that will be c over a. So alpha beta plus alpha gamma plus beta gamma all equal to c over a. That's product and sum. But the important thing is the sum of root. An important thing here is the sum of roots for the cubic and the product of roots. So those are the important things there. Sum of roots and the product of roots. Example 1. fx equals x cubed plus 6x squared plus 5x minus 12. Factorize and solve. Well, so that means you need to produce the factors and the roots. Now, first thing we need to do is to apply the polynomial coefficient rule, which is we need to add the coefficients, and if you add up to 0, then x minus 1 is a factor, which implies x equals 1 is a root. So the coefficient here is a equals 1, b equals 6, c equals 5, and d equals minus 12. If I add them together, I would get 1 plus 6 plus 5 minus 12, and that gives me 0. Therefore, x minus 1 is a factor. And if it's a factor, I need to set it to 0. X minus 1 equal to 0, which implies x equals 1. So if I put in x1, if I substitute x equal to 1 in the function, I would get 0. That's why it's a factor. So I get 1 cubed plus 6 1 squared plus 5 1 minus 12 will be equal to 1 plus 6 plus 5 minus 12, which equals to 0. That's why it's a factor. Now, because it's cubic, I did mention earlier for cubic, where you have x cubed plus 6x squared plus 5x minus 12. That should be equal to the polynomial sum of roots, so that's x cubed minus alpha plus beta plus gamma x squared minus, that's plus by the way, alternating plus in sign, plus alpha beta plus alpha gamma plus beta gamma x minus alpha beta gamma equal to 0. So that should be equal to that. And 6 and 6 here should be equal to that. 5 should be equal to that. And minus 12 should be equal to minus that. So that will be equal to 6. That should be equal to 5. And that should be equal to minus 12. And so that's what we want to use to solve our problem in factorizing this. We already know one factor and one root, which is alpha equals 1, because that means alpha equals 1. Because that's alpha. Now I need to equate these and form an equation. So I'm going to say, well, this is minus alpha will be equal to 6. 6 is b over a minus alpha. So I'm going to say alpha plus beta plus gamma equals minus 6 over a, b over a, which is 6 minus 6, basically. Because that's minus there, that's plus. So that'll be minus 6. Now, that's one equation, but I know what alpha is. Alpha is 1, so I get 1 plus beta plus gamma equals minus 6. This one here, the last one, that's alpha beta gamma. It is minus equals minus 12. And the minus we cancel out, then you get alpha beta gamma equals 12. But gamma, alpha is 1, so that implies that beta gamma equals 12. So I've got two equations. The first equation is that, and I've got beta times gamma equals 12. Now I can solve this to find beta and gamma. I need to rearrange one of these. So I'm going to say beta equals, if I take 1 to the other side, that'll be minus 7. So minus 7. If I take gamma to the other side, that'll be minus gamma. And I'm going to substitute that into this equation 2 here. And that implies that beta into bracket, so I'm substituting this one here into there. That's what beta is. So I would be using gamma, I'm afraid, gamma. So I'm replacing beta with that. So gamma minus 7 minus gamma equals 12. Okay, this is looking messy. So what do I have here is minus 7 gamma minus gamma squared equals 12. Now that implies that if I take all this to this side, I'll get gamma squared plus 7 gamma plus 12 equal to 0. So then I can solve for gamma. I can solve for gamma now, but to solve for gamma, I know that this is quadratic, which I have a, c, in this case a is 1, C is 12. So AC is 12. B, a new B is 7. This is a new B for quadratic. I want the sum of two numbers add up to multiply together to get 12. If I add them together, I get 7. So that means 3 and 4. I'm going to replace this 7 by 3 and 4. So I'm going to say gamma squared plus 3 gamma plus 4 gamma plus 12 equal to 0. So I just draw a line there. I'll get gamma coming out, gamma plus 3 plus, I take 4 out, gamma plus 3 equal to 0. So my factors here will become, so I've got one factor, and I've got what's left. So I'm going to get gamma plus 4 and gamma plus 3 all equal to 0. So if I set those to 0, I'll get gamma equals minus 4 and gamma equals minus 3. And that's my roots. But when gamma is minus 4, what is beta? Well, we know that beta equals minus 7 minus gamma. So minus 7 minus 4. And gamma is minus 4, so that becomes plus. So minus 7 plus 4 is 3 equals 3, minus 3. So beta is minus 3 when gamma is minus 4. Likewise, for this one here, beta will be minus 7 minus plus 3, and that will give it minus 4. So you can see it's very same as what gamma is. And therefore, our roots are, finally the roots are x equals 1, that's the first one there, x equals minus 3, and x equals minus 4. And the factors of these roots are x minus 1, x plus 3, if you have to move those numbers back to the other side of the equation, x plus 4. Question 2. Factorize the fx equals 6x squared minus 7x plus 1 and solve. The first thing we need to do is check if x minus 1 is a factor and x will be 1 for solution. To do that, we need to add the coefficients. This is quadratic where a equals 6, b equals minus 7, and c equals 1. If we add them together, we get 6 minus 7 plus 1, and that is 0. And that implies that x minus 1 is a factor. And what that meant is x minus 1 will be equal to 0, and therefore x will be equal to 1. So that's one root, one factor. So that's alpha equals 1. But with quadratic, we know how to write quadratic equation when you have ax squared plus bx plus c, and that can be written as, well, equals to 0. When we divide the whole thing by a, so you get x squared plus b over a, x plus c over a will be equal to 0. And that will be, itself will be equal to x squared minus alpha plus beta x plus alpha times beta equal to 0. So this is quadratic equation. This is the most important part of quadratic, just to know these three things. Now, the b over a, the sum of root alpha plus beta will always be equal to minus b over a. It's just a must. You must remember that. And the product of root alpha times beta, which is product, will be equal to c over a. Now, we know one of the product is 1. What is c minus c over a? So minus c over a, from the question we've got, a is 6, and no, what is minus b over a? B is minus 7. So sum of root will be equal to b is minus 7, so that's minus 7 over 6. But remember, alpha is 1, which implies that 1 plus beta equals 7 over 6. Well, in that case, I will multiply everything by 6, and that implies that I'll get 6 plus 6 beta equals 7. Therefore, I know what my beta will be. My beta will be, well, 6 beta will be 7 minus 6. Therefore, beta, 7 minus 6 is 1. Beta is 1 over 6. That's what beta is, 1 over 6. You could even use the product to do it. That would be, beta is already 1 over 6, because you can see here, alpha is 1 and beta. All you need to do here is just say, right, beta will be, c is 1 and a is 1. There you go, beta is just 1 over 6. So you don't have to go through that one even. We can use that or that. And that's why this is so important. Now you've found your roots. One root, we don't like fraction roots. And therefore, we need to correct this one. Say, well, beta is 1 over 6. Therefore, to find a factor, x minus 1 over 6 will be equal to 0. So that's a factor, because beta is x, right? All our factor, so x equals alpha, because it's, the reason why x equals alpha equals 2 roots. X equals beta. In this case, my x is 1, so that x equals 1, alpha equals 1. In this case, x equals 1 over 6, because beta is 1 over 6. So x minus 1 over 6 becomes 0. Multiply all by 6 to get rid of the fraction. Then you get 6x minus 1 equal to 0. And that's my new factor. So the factor for this problem is x minus 1 times 6x minus 1. That would be equal to 0. 6x squared minus 7x plus 1 will be equal to x minus 1, 6x minus 1, which will be equal to 0. And the solutions are x equals 1, x equals 1 over 6. Question 3. fx equals 2x cubed minus 3x squared minus 12x plus 20. Factorize fx and solve. In order to do that, what we need to do is set fx to 0 in order to solve it. So fx will be equal to 0. also we need to say x will be equal to alpha, because it's 3 roots. It's going to have 3 roots because the degree of polynomial is 3. X will be beta, these are the roots. X will be gamma. A cubic is ax cubed plus bx squared plus cx plus d, in this case equal to 0. If I divide all by a, I get x cubed plus b over ax squared plus c over ax plus d over a equal to 0. And you know, the cubic equation can be written as x cubed minus alpha plus beta plus gamma for the x squared coefficient, plus minus and plus next, minus first then plus alpha beta plus alpha gamma plus beta gamma, x for the coefficient of x, minus alpha beta gamma for the coefficient of x to the power 0, but the constant, and that equals to 0. Now, just to remind us, this is the sum of roots that equals b over a. Sum and product here, you don't tend to use that much. That equals to that one, c over a. And the product of roots is equal to that one. And that's what we need to try and remember most of the time. But so that's the important thing. But the first thing we should do is find out if x minus 1 is a factor, which means x equals to 1 will be a root. To see if x minus 1 is a factor, we need to add the coefficient. So we need to add a plus b plus c plus d. And if that equals to 0, then x minus 1 will be a factor, which will be equal to 0, which implies that x will be equal to 1. So when we add them, we add 2 plus minus 3 plus minus 12 plus 20. Does that give us 0? That gives us 7. So that's not, x minus 1 is not a factor. X minus 1, not a factor. Now, what we now need to do is to do try and error. We need to try a factor, to try fx for minus 1. So we try fx, that means we try x equals minus 1. So we put 2 into bracket minus 1 cube minus 3 into bracket minus 1 squared minus 12 into bracket minus 1 plus 20. And that gives us, well, 2 into minus 1 to power cube is odd. You still get minus 1. Minus 1 times 2 is minus 2. Minus 1 to power even is going to be plus 1. And 1 times minus 3 is minus 3. Minus 12 times minus 1 is plus 12. Plus 20. That equals 7. No, not 7, 27. Because that's 32 minus 5. That's 27. So that's 27. And that's not good because it's not a factor. That's a remainder. That's not a factor. And therefore, we need to try another one. This time, we need to try fx equals 2. 2 to power 2 cube minus 3 to power 2 squared minus 12 to power 2 plus 20, and that will become, that gives us, what does that give us? Well, 8 times 2 is 16. 4 times 3 minus 3 is minus 12, minus 24 plus 20. Now 36 minus 36 will become 0. X equals to 2 is a factor, and that implies that x minus 2 equal to 0. X minus 2 is a factor. X equals to 2 is a root. That's a root, not a factor, root, and this is a factor. So now we found the first factor, which means that x equals to 2 here for alpha. We need to find beta and gamma. To find beta and gamma, we need to use the beautiful sum of roots here. Sum of roots. And here is product of root. Remember, sum of roots and product of roots are here as well. So what we need to do that is to divide the whole thing here by 2 to get that format. So we need to get this format, and therefore we need to divide that by 2. That will be x cubed minus 3 over 2 x squared minus 6x plus 10 equal to 0. Now we've divided by 2. Now what we need to do is write the sum of roots and the product of roots. Remember, alpha is 2. Now we have, this is minus minus, so that means they cancel out, so you're going to get alpha plus beta plus gamma equals 3 over 2. So you need to watch out for the signs when you're doing them. That's the sum of roots. The product of root will be, again, that's minus here, and that's a plus here. So we're going to have alpha, beta, gamma equals minus 10. It equals minus 10 because it's minus here. I would say minus alpha beta equals 10. Multiply both sides by minus, you get minus 10. Now, these are the two equations I need. I'm going to use this to solve that. But alpha is 2, therefore I'm going to write 2 plus beta plus gamma equals 3 over 2. Then I'm going to write beta gamma equals, I'm going to divide both sides by 2, because this is 2 here. If I divide it by 2, I divide that by 2, I'll get minus 5. That's my equations now. Now I need to rearrange beta to make beta the subject, so I can substitute beta into here. If I call that the equation 1, which I know, and that is equation 2, now I'm substituting, I'm making beta the subject in equation 1. Beta equals 3 over 2 minus gamma minus 2. That will become 3 over 2 is over 1, so that would be 3 over 2 minus gamma minus 4 over 2, and that becomes 4 over 2 minus 3 over 2 is minus 1 over 2, right? Minus gamma, that's beta. Okay, so I'm going to substitute beta into equation 2. Let's call that equation 3. Right, so my equations were, I've got beta gamma equals minus 5, and I've got beta equals minus a half minus gamma. I'm going to replace that beta into there. Well, so I'm going to get gamma first into bracket, this beta into there, minus a half minus gamma equals minus 5. If I multiply out, I'm going to get minus gamma over 2 minus gamma squared plus 5 equal to 0. So I move 5 to the other side. Now if I multiply everything by minus, in fact I could multiply everything by minus 2. So I get gamma, because that's minus 2, plus 2 gamma squared plus 10 equal to 0. Now I need to factorize this. So let me write it in a standard quadratic form. 2 gamma squared plus gamma plus 10 equal to 0. This is my new A. A equals 2, B equals 1, C equals 10. I need to find AC. When I multiply them together, I get 20, sorry. So to do that, I would need, first of all, that should be minus, because I'll multiply everything by minus. So that'll be minus, right? So that's minus 10. So I get minus 20. So I will need 5 and 4. So if I put gamma there, minus gamma there, I'm going to replace my gamma here with 5 and 4. And then I'll get 2 gamma squared plus 5 gamma minus 4 gamma minus 10 equal to 0. And now if I take gamma out, I get 2 gamma plus 5, and I take minus 2 here, minus 2, and I get 2 gamma plus 5 equal to 0. That looks correct because this and this is correct. Therefore, I'm going to have my two factors are the common factor and what's left. The common factor is 2 gamma plus 5, and what's left is gamma and minus 2, and that equal to 0. If I have to set this to 0, so these are my factors. Now if I have to set this to 0 and set that to 0, then I'll get gamma minus 2 equals to 0, which implies that gamma equals 2. Also, 2 gamma plus 5 equal to 0, and that implies that 2 gamma equals minus 5, which implies that gamma equals minus 5 over 2. And you can see here, we know that beta gamma equals minus 5. So I can also find beta from here. I know that beta equals minus a half minus gamma. Already found gamma. So all I need to do is use either this or that to find beta. So minus a half, gamma is 2, minus 2 will be equals, so that makes 2 over 2 be minus a half minus 4 over 2. That gives minus 5 over 2. So beta is minus 5 over 2. Very similar to what gamma is. Well, that meant that if I didn't find the second one, beta equals minus a half minus 5 over 2 gamma which will become, well, minus to minus is plus, so you're going to get minus 1 over 2 plus 5 over 2, that gives 4 over 2, which becomes 2, which is that gamma is 2. So basically, the factors are x equals 1, which is what we got, x equals 2, sorry, which is what we got before, and x also equals 2 from here, and x equals minus 5 over 2. So these are the two roots. So let's write, these are the roots now. So let's turn them into factors. X minus 2 is a factor. X minus 2 is a factor. X minus, which is plus 5 over 2, all equal to 0. But we don't like fractions in factors. So what we need to do is multiply that by the whole thing by 2 here and 2 there. That will be 2x plus 5, because 2 we cancel the 2 at the bottom, equal to 0. So that's the factor there. So the factors are x minus 2 squared, x plus 5. Question 4. We've been given a function and we're told the root of the function is x equals minus 1 over 4. It's a cubic function and we're told to factorize and solve. That means we need to find the rest of the roots and the factors. So basically find roots and factors. This is cubic, and you know what cubic are. Ax cubed plus bx squared plus cx plus d. Because we're solving, we equate it to 0. It will have 3 roots because it's got highest exponent is 3, degree of polynomial is 3. So we say x equals alpha. In this case, this is alpha here. And then we want x equals beta, and we want x equals gamma. To turn them into factor, it will be x minus alpha, that's a factor. This one will be x minus beta, and that's x minus gamma. Those are the factors. And when we write this one properly, divide through by a, we know that x cubed plus b over a x squared plus c over a x plus d over a will always be equal to x cubed minus alpha plus beta plus gamma for x squared. That's the coefficient of x squared. And the coefficient plus, by the way, minus plus alpha beta plus alpha gamma plus beta gamma for x minus alpha beta gamma equal to 0. So what we're dealing with is, we should realize that that and that are equal, and that and these are equal. Likewise, this is product of roots over here. So what really we need to remember for quadratic is usually or for cubic is sum of root. You just need to remember that, sum of roots, and also product of roots. If we remember those, we can use them anytime. Now, the sum of root that we remember is alpha plus beta plus gamma will always be equal to minus b over a. That's the sum of root. And the product of root is always going to be alpha times beta times gamma will always be equal to minus d over a. This is for cubic. So that's the thing we need to remember. If we can remember those, then all is fine. So that's sum of roots, product of roots. Now the question given to us, we already know what alpha is. Alpha is a quarter. And we can turn that into factor anyway. X equals minus a quarter. Therefore, we can say x plus a quarter equal to 0. But we don't like fractions in factors, so we need to multiply both sides by 4, and therefore we'll get 4x plus 1 equal to 0. So the factor, the actual factor for this one is 4x plus 1. So that's a factor there. Now we need to find the other two factors, alpha, x equals minus beta, and x equals minus gamma. We need to find beta and gamma. So that's what we're going to do now. So using these two, we can find the beta and gamma. Alpha is a quarter. Alpha equals minus a quarter. So all I need to do is minus a quarter plus beta plus gamma equals, now b over a is 9, so that's minus 9 over 4. Alpha, beta, gamma will be equal to, well, alpha is minus a quarter, so I should have put that in, minus 1/4 times beta times gamma. And then that's what alpha is. And d is minus, so you got minus 8 over 4. And that implies minus beta gamma over 4 equals 2, because minus 2 times minus 8 is plus 8 over 4 is 2, and therefore I can say beta gamma equals, now this is minus here, multiply both sides by minus and also by 4, you're gonna get minus 8. So I've got two equations that I need to use. This is equation 2. That's equation 2. And my equation 1, I need to sort that one here. Now here I can see minus a quarter there, so I could say beta plus gamma equals, if I take a quarter there, it will be minus 9 over 4 plus a quarter, and then I'll get beta plus gamma equals, so that would be minus 8 over 4. That's minus 8 over 4, which is minus 2. So this is equation 1. That's equation 1. If I work on the equation 1 and 2, I should be able to say, well, beta equals minus 2 minus gamma. If I substitute beta into that, I would get, if I substitute that into equation 2, I would get, that implies that gamma into bracket minus 2 minus gamma equals minus 8, which will give me minus 2 gamma minus gamma squared plus 8 equal to 0. Multiply all by minus 1, and now get gamma squared plus 2 gamma minus 8 equal to 0. And factorizing this should be easy because I need 4 and 2. So 4 and 2 we go there because I need plus 4 and minus 2. So therefore I'm going to get y gamma squared plus 4 gamma minus 2 gamma minus 8 equal to 0. And that should give, if I take gamma out of here, I'll get gamma plus 4. And if I take minus 2 out of here, minus 2, I get gamma plus 4 equal to 0. So the factors are gamma minus 2, because that it's a common factor here. That's what's left after taking out the common factors, gamma plus 4. So gamma minus 2 and gamma plus 4. But gamma is x, remember? And also that's x as well. So we literally found the x. We've also found the beta as well. And therefore, we would have the final solution to be the factor is, so the factor is x minus 2, x plus 4, and 4x plus 1. Those are the factors equal to 0, right? And the solution, and the solutions are x equals 2, which is the first one, which is this one here. X equals minus 4, which is that one. And the first one that was given to us, x equals minus a quarter, because that's what that would be.